Well, it was only a matter of time. You live by the algorithm, you die by the algorithm. I've spent my entire career trying to chase trends and do what's popular as set by bigger YouTubers, and if what bigger YouTubers are doing is retiring while they're on top, well, I guess the only thing left for me to do is follow suit. With that being said, if every popular YouTuber retires, I'll be the only one left.
That's a lot of nuts!
Why would anybody want to retire once YouTube is already your job? You get to sit in front of a camera, make all the jokes, play the video games, analyze your favorite childhood cartoon for 9 hours at a time, and you get paid for it? And you decide that's too much work and you want to leave? Last I checked, the #1 desired job by anybody is to be a content creator. I think #2 is Olivia Rodrigo's toilet seat. I'd be fine with either. Why are we talking about retiring? Because it feels like everybody's retiring. Matt Pat from Game Theory, Linus Tech Tips to step down as CEO of a company that has his name in it, Papa Meat, Tom Scott, a bunch of other lesser known YouTubers in a bunch of different spaces all seem to be announcing that they're stepping back from YouTube, which is horrible news. Is Mr. Beast gonna retire next? Is he gonna be the next big creator? Please, God, Mr. Beast, retire. Just fucking disappear, man. There's a couple different things that are causing confusion on the end of people who watch these big creators. The biggest of which, that's easiest to answer, is why does it feel like everybody's retiring all at once? I mean, Game Theorist, Tom Scott, Papa Meat, a bunch of different VTubers all seem to be announcing that they're either retiring or stepping away from YouTube all in the same week, give or take? What's up with that? It makes a lot of sense because the week that they're picking is like the first or second week of January. If you guys know anything about the way that people get paid on YouTube, it's through ad rates, the commercials that get run on your YouTube videos. December, November, during the holiday season, where all these companies have massive budgets, you get paid a ton of money for your views. But then, once the holiday season is over, those budgets go down dramatically, and the million views that might have made you thousands of dollars in December, just a week or two later, might make a fraction of that, even though you got the same amount of views. The same is true for sponsorships. Sponsorships and ad reads and your NordVPNs and your Into the AMs and your Raid Shadow Legends all pay more money during the holiday season because they have more money to fund those ad reads. So it all comes together to mean that you're going to get paid a lot more in November and December. So anybody who's thinking of retiring, especially when you have a really big channel, it's usually something that you're thinking about for quite a while. You have a family, you got kids, you have less time, but it doesn't make sense to quit right at the end of the year when you could just keep making videos as you've probably been used to for years and years on a schedule at this point. Make it through the end of the year, collect your last few paychecks, and then end up retiring in January where, you know, you would have made like 30% of that money if you put in the same work anyway. You know, people want to go out with a nice big bag, and that, you know, kind of just makes sense. So if you're gonna retire from making YouTube videos and content creation, it makes sense to do it after your ad rates go down. So if everybody who wanted to retire sometime in 2023 decided to stick it out to make it until 2024, that makes sense. But the notion that anybody who's got a channel with millions and millions of subscribers could walk away from that kind of fame, notoriety, and easy cash flow still doesn't make a ton of sense to most people watching their videos, and even smaller content creators like myself to some extent. So why are people quitting YouTube? Well, A, most of them aren't. Meat Canyon, Papa Meat, has decided to step back from his main channel where he does these incredibly high production animated videos, but is still probably going to be streaming on his Twitch channel, and has said that he's going to continue to upload videos on his second channel, Papa Meat, where he does videos like this talking about internet news and what have you. Tom Scott has decided to come back from uploading a video every week or so, but he's still got a podcast, he's still making videos for other channels, and he hasn't exactly said that he's never going to upload a video again. Matt Pat is going the Ray William Johnson route, where his company and his channels are so big and so, you know, formulaically scripted that it is easy enough to just have another creatively driven individual take the ropes and continue to make that content without it necessarily needing to be his voice or ideas on every single decision. And even Linus Tech Tips is only stepping down as the CEO so that he can focus on having a family, but the business still exists around him. Same goes for people like PewDiePie. In fact, the only person in recent memory that's actually retired is probably Jenna Marbles, to my knowledge. While that's understandable, I'm sure to a lot of people it still begs the question why. with 1 million, 5 million, 10 million subs, hundreds of millions of views, it feels like the cash is easy. If people are already willing to watch the sorts of videos that you've been making for like a decade, why would you ever step away from that kind of basically free money, online notoriety, free stuff in the mail, love from fans, access to a large community? That seems like the life, no? I wish I could provide some sort of like insight into that being a YouTuber myself, but even to me, it's like, I recognize, because of what these people have said, that it feels like a bit of a rat race. That, yeah, it's cool to be able to make a video, know that it gets millions of views, have a ton of comments, stuff sent to you, money, notoriety, and what have you. But if you do it every week, and you do it every week for like 5-10 years, like basically anything else in life, it can start to wear you down. If you take a look at the sorts of videos that are made by people like Tom Scott and the game theorist MatPat, you see that over the course of time, because they've made so many videos, they have to get better, more interesting. You slowly have to top the stuff that you did last year. If Mr. Beast started doing videos where he was giving away $10, I imagine people wouldn't give as much of a shit because he has to build on top of what he's been doing for like a decade at this point. And it's because of that even simplistic videos like the ones that MatPat makes or the ones that Tom Scott makes that sort of get whittled down to, hey, I'm just gonna talk and share an idea that I have, maybe in a unique place or maybe with a unique genre or spin or trending topic. But because they've been doing it for so long, it needs to be executed perfectly. You're probably not going to listen to Tom Scott just talk about something that isn't interesting, but you will listen to him talk about something that seems uninteresting, because even if it's something that seems uninteresting, Tom Scott knows with the hundreds of videos under his belt that he can make it interesting. He knows the topics that are going to be worthwhile to make into a YouTube video, and that skill, as easy as it looks like to execute, actually takes a tremendous amount of planning, scripting, analytical dives to be able to bring it in a fashion that makes it feel like, hey, this was a good video for me to watch. Same goes for PewDiePie, same goes for MatPat, same goes for Papa Meat, and anybody else who's been doing this for a while. Boo-hoo, Sumito. Oh, I have the easiest job in the world. Oh, I can't make videos analyzing the top 10 thickest gyats in all of Fortnite and get 10 billion views. I have to actually make a good video that's clickable. Oh, woe is me. Being a YouTuber results in a lot of different negativities that don't really exist in other lines of work. If you have a rough day at work when you're like a cashier or a car salesman, or you work as like a social worker or something, generally speaking, it's stuff from outside of your control. If you had a bad day at work, somebody yelled at you, you made a mistake, it's usually not a reflection of like you being a bad person. At least I imagine if you're healthy, you're not going to internalize it as such. But generally speaking, as a content creator, as somebody who's putting out videos that are purely my own opinion and what I think is interesting, if they don't get a lot of views, that means that like I was wrong. And the thing that I thought was interesting and I spent a lot of time researching or like, you know, hyper focusing on to make a video is actually just something that's stupid. And people either don't care about that or they don't care about me. You don't generally need to deal with anonymous comments when you're doing anything other than making videos online. You generally don't work at McDonald's or Wendy's and have somebody telling you that you should kill yourself, what you do is bad, you were better 2 years ago, you're a knockoff Walmart version of another YouTuber, at those kinds of jobs. And as much as it's easy to say, hey, just ignore the hate, and as thankful as I am for the hundreds of positive comments from people who do enjoy watching my videos, I can completely understand that even somebody who seems as universally liked as somebody like the game theorist, PewDiePie, Tom Scott, with as many subs as they have, even little bits of things that start to chip away at your psyche might add up over a decade of a career. Not only that, but then you also have to understand that like a job as a YouTuber is more like being a movie star or a music creator than it is any other normal job. Generally speaking, if you work in an office or if you work a, normal job where you get like a W-2, you'll slowly have money going up. 10 years, 20 years doing the same thing is usually reflective of you being paid pretty well for that job. But that's not necessarily true on YouTube. In fact, it's almost not true for anybody on YouTube because you're gonna have a peak. Even people who make video game content are only gonna be as popular as the video game is popular. And at some point, you're gonna have to reflect and take a look at the fact that, hey, I'm probably not gonna be as relevant, popular, or paid as much as I was back when the thing that I was doing was as popular as it was gonna be. Every video that I make from this point on, whether it takes more or less work than it did 5 years ago, is never gonna make me as much money as that one giga-viral hit, or that one series that went crazy, or when I was the #1 Fortnite player, Apex player, and now that that's not the thing that's trendy, the same videos I'm making that were getting millions of views before are struggling to hit 100K. I've actually put a lot of thought and have a personal connection with the ideology of retiring from YouTube. Back when this conversation was first sort of coming up, when everybody was talking about creator burnout, because that's about when I started to pick up any sort of traction on YouTube, and I really had to think about what the future for doing this as a career was gonna be. Because I'm 29, I'm not exactly like got all of my teenage years ahead of me to go out and be the most popular YouTuber in the world. I instead had to take a look at this as a career and think about what the best way it would be for me to be able to do this for the foreseeable future if I had to be making YouTube videos when like I've got a kid and shit. And for me, I knew that if I was gonna be chasing super viral videos, try to make content on the street interviewing people, or chase trends that people who have more time, energy, and access than I do, then it would probably be a losing fight. There is a chance that I end up as the greatest fucking street interviewer, TikTok star, break dancer, whatever, but realistically, that would be something that I'd have to throw the entire book at, and if it didn't work out, I'd be in my mid-30s with a trending career that is no longer trendy. Really, it's because of thinking about people who are retiring after putting in so much work into these videos that I decided the best way for me to be able to do this personally would be to make videos more like this, where it's like, even if I'm 56 years old, 30 years into my career, if I can stand in front of a camera and talk about something that I find interesting or am passionate about, and hopefully can provide a little bit of research and insight to somebody who doesn't have the time to do that, then maybe I found my space. My opinion is it's probably a good thing, right? I mean, obviously it's sad to take a look at somebody who's been putting out videos that you watch every week, that you're probably super comfortable with, that, you know, gives you a good feeling when you get off of work and you just want to sit down and see a familiar face, hear a familiar voice. But like, you know, YouTube wasn't even something you could do as a job like 10, 15 years ago. And even if it was something, it was something very fleeting. I mean, if you think of somebody like Ray William Johnson, or, I mean, name any YouTuber who was making videos like 10 years ago, there's a good chance that they're probably doing like a different job at this point. The fact that you can take a look at people who have made these big companies, these massive channels, and they can step away from YouTube, and without it being something where it's like they got to go back to working a normal job. Instead, it's like they can sit back and take like a managerial role and still have that content coming out, or still be able to do podcasts and other stuff and still be able to make a living that way. You know, there's no 401k on YouTube. You don't get paid if you're not making videos. So the fact that there even is a point in a YouTube career where you can more or less stop making videos and still be like okay in life, it's probably good. I don't see myself retiring anytime soon from making YouTube videos, but you know, that's probably not surprising to anybody because I'm barely a YouTuber as it is. I still feel like I've got the vast majority of my career ahead of me. And as difficult as it is for me to take a look at somebody who's got a giant channel and to be able to step away from it all in one way or another, it feels as foreign to me as it probably does to you guys who maybe don't make videos and look at somebody who's got 1 million subs and think, wow, that's the life. I'd do anything for that. I feel the same way. But I do think being a YouTuber and being a content creator are two different things. And I think if you're making one type of video on YouTube, you really just got to drag it to, you know, take as much out of it as you can, and then hope that it puts you up at a point where you're big enough to be able to do other stuff, because you're probably not going to be able to do the same thing forever and see the same amount of success. If you're more of a diverse content creator, obviously, you don't necessarily need to just keep pumping up your monthly views from 1 million to 10 million to 100 million. You can diversify by making stuff on Patreon, you can stream on Twitch, you can make podcasts, and even if you only work the same 40 hours a week that most everybody does who has a job that isn't YouTube, you could probably feasibly get away with doing that stuff at a big enough size. And even if you're not pumping out a video every week and it's more like once a month and it's something more like this where you just sit in front of a camera and talk, I don't really see a reason for me to step away from that. But at the same time, I don't really see myself getting to the point where I've got as many views and videos coming out as somebody like Linus, game theorist, even PewDiePie or Tom Scott at this point. I love the idea of being a creatively driven individual for the entirety of my life, and as much as I idealize the idea of being somebody like Miyazaki, who's in his 60s or 70s and still making excellent content with like the 50 years of experience being funneled into like a movie or a video or a song or whatever, the reality is this sort of career is something that you really have to work hard to make before you can even have the decision to decide to step away from it. And I think well before I'll be in a position where it's like, hey, can I step away from this? I'm gonna be spending quite a bit more time trying to make this into something that's even worth stepping away from to begin with. And so I think if you see anybody who's retiring from YouTube and is looking back on the content they've made and they are happy with where they are, that's super dope. And it's really something that most people should probably strive for, because for every one big YouTuber that you see that's stepping away from their platform, there's probably hundreds of thousands of people that you've never even heard of that had to make the same decision and don't get the fanfare, the fireworks, and the farewells that these big YouTubers are getting. Thanks for making it to the end of this video. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I'm so sorry to anybody who thought I was retiring. Good news, I'm not. And to anybody who wanted me to retire, you can suck my ass. Big shout out to the patrons scrolling in the back. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.